Hi, you're with Scott. I'm Genshin Kid. It's midnight. It's always midnight. This is right around your left ear. We're carrying on with our react to how Gacha games trick players into spending thousands, reacted to by Asmongold from Atrioc, reacted to again by me. And we're into the tactics now. These are the actual tactics they use to psychologically manipulate you. And these are bad things that I don't like. Tactics to psychologically manipulate people. Bad things I don't like. You can get a load of merchandise these days from a lot of things, can't you? Films are just basically adverts. They used to be in clever comics that said things about society, and now they're adverts for merchandise. So it's not just games that are doing this, is it? Using psychological... It's not just games that are using psychological manipulation to try and get you to buy stuff, so...
You're gonna see this a fucking lot. This is when you first get into the game. They will give you some kind of bonus, some kind of double gem.
I mean, that's a pretty good deal, to be honest. Like... like you buy one and you get this. It's like you buy one get one free. It's like the it's not even an 800% value, guys.
So when I used to do hairdressing, I used to say free consultations, and everyone off the street could just come in and sit down in our chair and have a free consultation. Free? Oh, you're not charging for that? Of course I'm not, because that's my way of getting you to come into the hairdressing salon. And once you're through the door and you're sat in the chair and we've discussed what kind of a haircut you want, maybe you'll sign up to have it done at my salon. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's not a marketing trick, but it's a process of offering something for free to get people in through the door. So it's not a new thing. Psychological tricks to make you spend. This isn't one of the worst ones. This is just everything in the world does this, doesn't it? Special offer for signing up. First month free. You know what I mean? Like, that's why you've got a gym membership that you still pay for that you never go to. So this is not new. And it's not special, clever, predatory. It's just the standard predatory that we accept in our society. Standard predatory manipulation that we accept. I'm against it. I'm against this. I'm against marketing and advertising in general. I'm against teaching people at universities to do marketing and advertising without forcing them to do some sort of ethical module as well. I mean, maybe they do ethics. Maybe they do cover it. But maybe it's thrown by the wayside when it comes to making money. I'm not a big fan of all that, no. And you've heard me witter on already about how films can be used as marketing tools. Not just Coca-Cola placed in the... I've said it now, Coca-Cola marketing. Not just that it's placed in the film, but, you know, the whole film is basically a marketing tool for merchandise, isn't it? All the cartoons I used to watch when I was a kid, He-Man didn't exist. Like, they created characters, figures that you could buy, little... They created toys. Transformers, they created toys. And they said, how do we sell these toys? And then they created an advert which was on the telly for the toys. And they said, you can't just put these adverts on all the time for kids. They're indoctrinating them with these toy adverts. I said, fine. And instead they made a half-hour television show called Transformers. And He-Man was a half-hour animation. And that's to sell the toys. And the exact words of the man who did that was that we trained a generation of children to think there's got to be toys, there's got to be merchandise. They trained a generation of children to think there's got to be toys, there's got to be merchandise. So that's already been done. That's why that guy sat there in his game room with all that stuff behind him that he's bought from, like, you know, and Asmon's not, but no, that's been done. That's been done.
It's only a 100% value or a 200% value.
Welcome to the shops.
The reason they do this is because once you've put in payment information, the friction for everything else that they're going to try...
Oh, that's not just here again. That's everywhere. Once you've started the process of payment and you've typed in all those details, that's the same with Amazon. That's the same with eBay. That's welcome to the internet shops.
Trick you with is drastically reduced.
Yeah, it's like if somebody ever tells you that they're going to give you something for free, all you have to do is sign up with your credit card. It's not going to be free. Because, like for example, it gets free for the first 30 days. And then after the first 30 days, if you don't take your card off, they charge it.
See what I said? That's why you still got that gym membership.
So guess what happens? Most people forget about it. So, they charge it. That's how it works.
Yep. Welcome to the shop.
Let's say you're like, oh, I want that skin.
True.
Having to go to your wallet and pull out the fucking credit card and type it in and figure that out is a stop moment.
I know.
Psychologically, it's like a stop moment. It's a big pit of friction. They have to.
I'll be honest. I probably would have spent more money in Tower of Fantasy if I didn't have to put in my credit card information every single time. I would have. It's just fucking annoying having to do that. Because I have to like type it in, fucking authenticate it. Like, ah, my God. Like, I could have spent another $100 by now, but I'm
Not using PayPal.
spending twice as long spending the first $100. Now I don't want to do it again. It's taking too long.
That, okay? The first spend is the hardest. And
Yeah,
I saw a video.
Well, the first spend's it's the hardest for you to, reason out in your head that you're going to do it. But they make it the easiest, don't they? Because it's the best value, the cheapest, bumper pack, starter pack. They make it the easiest. They lube you up.
A game
like
developer
drugs.
describing it as like an icebreaker. And they said,
Yeah,
quote,
icebreaker. What he's talking about here, when he says he's talking about a game developer, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that he's talking about game developers conference. Why is he going to be talking to a game developer to hear exactly the same terminology as I do? Game developers conference. The GDC has been a resource of awesome online content for years now, and they have a game developers conference biannually, and they do these talks, and then the people that do the talks, the talks are online. Look, interactive wind and vegetation in God of War. So this is a fairly recent one. It's a GDC talk, a bit like a TED talk. Look,
we have three categories of these. We have leaf parameters, which control model shaping and posing.
So you get the gist. They invite speakers from the games industry and they put the talks on the internet. There are a number of channels who use this as a resource to make their content. And they don't say, oh, I've been watching GDC videos and this is what the game developers said. They say, oh, I heard from a game developer. Like that chap just did. But I guarantee it's come from this because they did a big one about whaling that a lot of people reacted to. I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's a different react. But it's...
Spend comes from the high paying guys, the whales, and the very best way to get these guys to spend is to get two rich competitive guys to fight each other and tell them, I'll give you a slight upside if you pay me. Next off, to remind you that the best way to make sure of both your retention and your monetization is to make sure you have enough of an in-game economy in there.
So it's just tips. He's put it all together. The monetization of how to create these games. Hot state, look, the psychology. They know the psychology. That's why they've done it. Games like Clash of Clans, Gachas, look, are discussed here. So it's all in this video. And I would almost guarantee that this guy Atrioc has watched that video and is now... Like, I will be annoyed, actually. I'll be angry if all of his points have come from this. Because he should have just said, I've watched this GDC video, it's really good, why don't we react to it? Or, here it is, here's the points they make, why don't you go and watch it? Instead of making his own video, like, regurgitate that content as if it's his own thoughts. But...
Once they've broken the ice.
Yeah.
Once you
Maybe
break
he's not
that
doing
wall,
I'm not saying he's doing that. I'm just saying with that first point there, breaking the ice, I'm sure that was in a GDC. I'm sure I've heard it in a GDC. That's what I'm saying.
break them. That is a quote. Once you break that wall, you break them.
That's right. Because you get them to do what you want them to do. I think that makes sense. As a huge need for honest discussion and ethical creation of the game. No, bro, there's no discussion about the ethical creation of games. Don't you understand? Like, you understand, like, in the Quran, gambling is banned.
Yeah.
This is something Muhammad figured out thousands of years ago.
Peace be upon him.
We've had the ethical discussion. Everybody knows about this.
But this isn't necessarily gambling, is it? Well, it is, isn't it? You put your money in, you cross your fingers. So are we allowing kids to have... What about your Happy Meal? What kind of toy do you get in your Happy Meal? Is that guaranteed? It wasn't when I was a kid. That was a gamble. So, it's all on a spectrum. Absolutely will agree. Gambling, no. I don't pay any money into Genshin Impact. I will never pay money into Genshin Impact. I'm not going to go and put a bet on the horses or the boxing or anything. I'm not a gambler. Same reason as he's just quoted there. It's prohibited in the Quran. I'm quite happy to go with that as a like you said, they had it figured out back then. It's served me well. For you, if it's not illegal, go ahead and do as much of it as possible until they make it illegal. Possibly. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, it's not illegal. I suppose it is illegal to stab yourself in the legs, isn't it? I bet there's a lot of things that aren't illegal that are detrimental to you. That's probably not a good idea. And they don't make it illegal, but they just try their hardest to prevent you from, like, smoking is not illegal, but it will be one day. But, you know, I do it. It's a fucker. It's a fuck up. You know, I shouldn't have got addicted to that. Another good example would be fast food, which is not illegal, but you don't want to, you know, make yourself into a big fat chuffer just to prove something, do you? There's all sorts of things that are dangerous, and they're selling it based on the premise that they've got an advantage in the competitive market, which is that you can get addicted to it. So, like fast food plays on your desires as a human being for fats and sugars and overloads, and you think it's brilliant in your brain, not your thinking brain, but your, you know, automatic response brain. There's loads of fats and sugars there. That's good for me. It's a ready source of fats and sugars. I like that. You used to have to go hunting and gathering for that. Hunting mushrooms and gathering old bits of meat off the lions that run away. Horrible. Leave that. Let's just eat the mushrooms and the fruits. Anyway, I used to have to do an awful lot of effort for that. These days, no. McDonald's, $1. Right, so they know what they're doing, and they push it right to the limit until they get regulated. Sugars in soft drinks. Do you know what I mean? They just push it right to the limit till they get regulated. Smoking should be legal as long as you're doing it, whatever you want. I mean, it's a strange one, isn't it? I don't know what the correct answer is here. I do know that when smoking first came out, the doctors used to prescribe it in the same way as they currently prescribe Oxycontin or something. They used to prescribe it for respiratory illness anyway. They didn't know it was killing people. And when they found out it was killing people, they carried on because the cancer-causing tobacco companies didn't want to stop prescribing. You know, it goes a long way back, but I was watching Marlboro adverts on the Formula One when I was a kid. They've changed that, you know. So legalities are ifs and buts and changing and whatever. I do think we should have an open society and people should make good decisions, but I also think we should have a lot more clear signalling about what is good and not, and it should be understood more, which is what we're trying to do here. So that's good as well, I suppose. Ethical discussions, you see. I'm an ethical person. I believe in good ethics, and I believe in promoting good ethics, and I don't mind. I'm a punk and a rule breaker and a risk taker, but I don't mind breaking rules that I think are not for my benefit, that are for the benefit of the government or whoever. But I do think that we should have, you know, things in place to protect people, and it is a difficult grey area. It is a difficult grey area. All drugs should be legal. I do think that. I think all drugs should be legal, but the mechanism, just saying that doesn't mean I think that anyone should just be able to sell them out of an ice cream van. Like, I don't think that. So I do think that, I think decriminalising is a better way of dealing with things, and if instead of getting your heroin from a street dealer, or instead of getting your crack cocaine from a street dealer, you were going to a clinic that was legitimately licensed to sell you this, as long as you consumed it on the premises and had access to different kinds of programs for your own rehabilitation, like, then that would be the way to go, wouldn't it? Or another way to do it, just put it out in the woods, and then all the junkies go and live in the woods, and then we can clean up the streets. But selling is influencing people, which is not the point. Knowing that, I mean, drugs are a good example, aren't they? Because they're definitely detrimental. People really enjoy them. But giving free samples of drugs to kids, or, you know, having promotional events for heroin outside primary schools, who's the bad person there? Guns don't kill people, rappers do. Yeah, the drugs are inert, they're just an item, but it's the way they're promoted and sold, isn't it, that is evil? Isn't it the actual sale of them? Is that, like, some people say it's not me, that I'm just doing the transaction, but isn't it you that's handing over the drugs that's evil, if you're taking the money and you're keeping the money and you're dealing the damage for the money? So who's doing the influencing? People who take the money. Like, if you don't directly sell the drugs, but you have a sponsorship from Drugs Co., If you are an influencer on social media and you don't give a fuck about the people who live in countries like sweatshops, so you do an advert for this, or you don't care about animals, so you do an advert for a makeup brand that tests on animals, or if you don't give a fuck and you just do that and you take the money and you promote the sale, are you not complicit? I mean, you can make the same argument with food that's not checked properly. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, agree. Like, food standards is another great example. Like, you would not allow like, certainly I think you always want to think of children as well, because there are certain members of society that you need to protect that can't make good decisions for themselves, and they just take it for granted that what the adults offer them is wholesome and decent and good for them. So if children are going to go into a shop and buy food and it's not going to be good for them and it might kill them, like not checked properly, then fuck yeah, like we need to sort that out, don't we? People should be imagine if a child ate a hamburger, or not hamburger, a vegan burger that had a needle in it or a glass. Then who's to fault? Like the person that sold the burger? Yes, in some ways, yes. The person that cooked it? Yes, in some ways, yes. The person that supplied it? Yes, also. All of them complicit in the whole process and should burden some responsibility. That's why we have some kind of rules and food hygiene standards. Your kitchen gets inspected, yes, because otherwise you kill people. And this is different. You might not directly kill people, but why do we not, like, why are we allowed? And we're not allowed. You used to this. You need to see these documentaries. I keep going on about it, but it keeps getting me copyright strikes. But there's these documentaries called "The Men Who Made Us Spend." So in your own time, go and put "The Men Who Made Us Spend" into Google, look, and watch these episodes, because they actually talk about these things that I'm talking about. They deliberately target children because children are easier to manipulate, and if you can make certain links in their brain at an early enough stage, then you've won the battle. You don't have to worry about things later on. And one of the links they make is they have they example Peppa Pig, and they have Peppa Pig Industries, and what they have is this lab, and it looks nice, and the kids are playing and they're watching the Peppa Pig, and they've got an app on the thing, and behind a two-way mirror they're making notes and recording what the kids are doing. And the lady says, what we're trying to do here is, if a child says I like Peppa Pig, then they might buy one of the Peppa Pig products. But if we can get them early enough, between the ages of 1 and 2, then they don't say I like Peppa Pig. They begin to say I'm like Peppa Pig, or Peppa Pig is like me. And they confuse Peppa Pig's identity with their own. So if then Peppa Pig likes cheeseburgers, they might also believe they like cheeseburgers, having never had a cheeseburger, because they have this deep psychological connect, like, been made during their developmental progress. It's been made during that connection. The people who make the cartoon have done it deliberately to make that connection. So if you sit your child in front of Peppa Pig, you're like fucking up their brain in favor of them spending money when they're older on certain stuff. And I don't know which product will have the Peppa Pig jingle attached to it in the future, but that generation of children who are into that, who have been worked like that, are going to fucking love it. So not I like Peppa Pig, but I'm like Peppa Pig. Like, they attack their identity at a young age. It's all in these documentaries, The Men Who Made Us Spend. So I can't put them on the stream because I've done it a couple of times before, and it fucked us over. But there's three episodes, and they're fucking brilliant. They talk about planned obsolescence. They talk about childhood and how the children hold the purse strings, and some other stuff too. So I won't go on about that too much, but this is what we're talking about here as well, isn't it? An ethical discussion about marketing. But isn't it funny that it has to come to computer games for us to have this, you shouldn't be selling this unethical in a computer game, or gambling. Like, gambling is terrible. Bad gambling, isn't it? What about Las Vegas? What about Las Vegas? That bad gambling. Well, like, that's an American institution, so, don't know what you want to do about that. And I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying it's hard to point the finger at Genshin Impact when you've been sitting on that all your life, isn't it? And then what about, like, in England, we have this problem where all these gambling shops occupy all the high streets, and all the people that get addicted to gambling can't go 5 minutes without walking past a gambling shop, and the gambling shops sponsor all the stuff. Like, gambling companies have a lot of clout because they make a lot of money sports betting and gambling. So Las Vegas isn't targeted for kids. That's true. Although in a way it's targeted at people who are in a slightly different, they've got money, and I'll tell you what, it's not targeted at people who are looking to find sound financial advice, is it? It's targeted at like Party City, like let your hair down, go wild, spend a bit of money. Like, I don't know, maybe it is targeted at old people as well. I don't know, but it seems strange that you can have a whole city of gambling and be arguing about whether gambling's acceptable in society on a video game. Because the reason this is acceptable on the video game is because our societies are riddled with it. And unless we can get rid of that dry rot, I'm just going to put Gambling UK and see what comes up. There's a gambling commission, online gambling sites. So there are online gambling sites, isn't there? Unibet, GambleAware. This is what I was looking for, some sort of gambling addiction thing, because, like, you know, our societies are now riddled with it to the point where it's ruining people's lives. So, like, gambling, like, it's not a new thing, is it? It's obviously not a new thing, and the bookie always wins, the casino always wins, but it just seems strange to me that we're having this discussion about this game and we're just going to accept that society's riddled with it, but we can have a discussion about this in this game and, like, make some points.
And they still do it. Like, I mean, come on. There's no, like, oh, well, we have to make sure people know that it's bad. Everybody knows it's bad.
Yeah.
So, the next thing they'll do is battle passes. Battle passes, or any kind of format that requires daily logins or regular playtime. They will offer their best deals, their best, you know, gems to dollars or whatever V-Bucks to dollars, whatever it is. Whatever the value is will be best in the battle pass. Because you got to sign in every day and stay there all day and be on their game all day, yeah? The goal is to make the game part of your daily routine.
Yeah, because once you build up a habit, then you're happier to spend money on it because it's something you do all the time. I even said this about Genshin Impact. I considered the Battle Pass because I've given enough of my time, but they've given me enough of their game development. I've enjoyed it so much and I've been there for that amount of time. I think they deserve 20 quid. A bit like if I was walking past like free-to-play stuff on the internet, and a lot like our streams. I over the years I had that ASMR channel, and this is the way I think about the support of that as well. Is it's a bit like being a busker, and you put this out in the world for free, and you hope that people throw some money in the hat. And like I've got a tip me thing for that. They've got a free thing and a battle pass and that, and some people do want to give them the money. They get a good deal on the primos or whatever. Like, isn't this commerce now that we're talking about? Yes, they want you to keep coming back in. At Cafe Nero, they gave me a stamp every time I had a cup of coffee, so I kept getting my coffee off them. Again, we're in the world of marketing, and I guess because computer games, in a more, like when we look back across the history of gaming, when you've got it on a cartridge, that marketing and that sales stuff is all about selling this package, this box with the cartridge in. But that's changed, hasn't it? That's changed. So now, like, you couldn't fit sales within this. Like, you had to sell this. Now you give that away for free because within it is the shop. So yeah, it's all changed now. I get that. I see what they're doing. I know they want me to make a habit. It's a bit strange for me because I was doing it. I was playing the game I enjoy every day because I enjoy the game. That's the best way to get people coming back every day. And I think Genshin have nailed that as well.
You do this for 20 plus days, it is now officially a habit in your brain that is difficult.
Again, where's he got that from? Eh? Why doesn't he show he's working out?
Difficult to break. Next thing they'll do.
I would agree with that. Like, battle passes obviously get you involved with.
But I wonder what Asmon's going to say here, because let's bear in mind he's played World of Warcraft every day for the past 10 years. So I wonder what he thinks about, you know, building a habit with your favorite game.
The game, etc. I don't think battle passes are bad. Like, I don't really think they're bad, because at a certain point, like, the game getting you to spend money, and I don't even think it's bad, because with a battle pass, you know what you're getting. You're buying something, and the rewards for the thing that you are buying are laid out in front of you by obtaining these different things.
Yep, absolutely agree. The only thing I would say is that slightly negative is if the things that are there for you to do are different from the things you would want to do. So, go and collect 200 Valberries might not be on your list of things to do unless it's on the battle pass, in which case now you're collecting Valberries. Like, they can manipulate the way you play the game through that. And then the other thing, like, that can be good because they can work in harmony, or it can be negative if they get you doing random runabout tasks. But the other thing that I would say was negative about this one was that you have to log in, and if you don't, you lose the money for that day. You lose the primos for that day. So I don't like that. I think you should pay and get everything. Okay, you've got to work towards it. Maybe you don't unlock everything in the game on day one, yeah, but like, I don't think you should lose it if you don't log in. The core of the argument is who's the susceptible people and how to protect them, not manipulate them. They'll mention that video. Okay, we'll get to that a bit later then, yeah.
So, categorically, you're not gambling. I have a problem with the gambling.
Yeah. Oh, he said it. Asmongold, is that subconscious? I have a problem gambling? With the gambling, he means, in the games. He doesn't want, and in society, yeah. Or does he mean he actually has a gambling problem? Because I argued in a different video that even if you don't think gambling is good, if you go to Las Vegas, I would argue that if you go in the casino, like Asmongold run it as a stream, didn't he? And it's not, I'm not gambling off stream. I don't have a gambling problem. So for me, non-gambler, it would be like, we do a stream where we go in a casino and I gamble all night in the casino, and I'm saying, I haven't got a gambling problem, I'm only doing this for you on stream. Yeah, and then we do that and we go home and I'm like, wow, that was exhilarating or devastating or whatever it was. And then next week I do another, or the next day or whatever it is, I do another one of these streams. Asman was doing it daily, and then after a week of doing it, I say, I haven't got a gambling problem, but what are we doing next week? So I want to go to the casino. Like, how can you not develop those feelings about gambling if you're engaged in it? All those things that get you hooked, those human emotions, the dopamine rushes, the chasing the losses or whatever it is, those psychological mechanisms that are at play there. If you don't do it, don't get bitten. You're not getting, but if you do it, you're engaged in it. It's very hard to be robotic and remove your emotions from the process and say, this is what's happening here. I'm not getting sucked in. That's how it works. So Asman just admitted he's got a problem with gambling.
Battle passes are not gambling. I don't really have a problem with them.
Yeah.
However, there is a spectrum of battle passes that are more and less annoying.
Yeah, agreed. And not just annoying, but problematic, because I find that in Hearthstone as well, which is that I didn't want, like before I was happy not having a battle pass. They introduced a battle pass, you get loads more rewards and this and that. But I was like, hang on, like, you're giving me loads of stuff that I have to buy on the battle pass, but I have to work towards it. Whereas before, I was getting my stuff because I was playing the game. Now I have to play the game to get it. It's the same, but you've twisted it slightly. Before, I would have just got it by playing the game. Now, like, I have to play the game to get it. Do you know what I'm saying? It just felt slightly different. And the fact that it wasn't you opt in by paying. Before, I didn't pay and I got free stuff. Now I pay and I get even more free stuff, but I have to play to get it because I've paid and I have to play.
In your brain that is difficult to break. Next thing they'll do, and this was baffling. I mean, listen, I've seen this before in other games. Genshin Impact took it to another fucking level. The idea of this is to have so many different currency types and tokens.
Yeah, I heard this a million times. Asma's been talking about it a million times. It's all over Diablo, gems, primos, trade them in for crystals, and then you've got books which are in Genshin specifically, you've got your XP, which is books, and you've got your weapon materials and all sorts. So you don't know for $1 or for £1 what things cost. Like, it's very hard and very difficult to work that out. Yes, absolutely. Again, is that unique to video games? No, not at all. That's why casinos have chips for a starter point. Well, not exactly. Obviously, chips mean that they can control the flow of money, and it won't just be cash out of people's pockets. But also, it means that you're not actually physically gambling with money. You're gambling with tokens. So, we're just talking about tokens, really, aren't we? And yeah, I completely agree. It's done to confuse you. Yeah, agree.
I'm actually going to, like this week probably, I'm going to do my big video on Tower of Fantasy, where I review the game and I go through everything that, is like positives, negatives, everything else in between. It's going to be probably this week. I am going to make a list ahead of time of all of the currencies in that game. Because I think that...
And I agree with you there. Are you saying that 99% of people only spend money for the pink wishes? That, yeah, there's loads of different shit in the game, but you don't want it. You just want to work out how many of the good wishes you can get.
There's more than 30. I actually...
But knowing, like, if they say, instead of 160, how much does a wish cost? No, you don't know. I did all the maths earlier, and we don't know how much one costs. It's £2.50, something like that. If they sold them in the shop for £2.50, it would be different than if you earn 20 primos from opening a chest. You know, if you were opening a chest and you knew how much financial value that was in wishes, or if you go on the shop and you can say 10 wishes equals $20, it's not that, is it? You have to buy crystals, which you turn into primos, which you turn into intertwined fate, and then you use to wish. So now you've gone 3 ways through a hoop, and you're no longer thinking in terms of dollars and pence, and it just, in the way your brain works, you might as well be eating cakes by this point. You've translated things through a prism, so it no longer is money. Now it's stuff, and you don't have the same attachment to stuff as you do to money. So
I actually think there's more than 30 different currencies if you count, like, you know, like you've got matrix chips. You've got matrix buy, like the rewards for getting one that you're going to use in the store. And then you have seasonal matrix chips. Like, that's 4 right there. That's a lot.
Weird denominations things are bought in to make it so your brain cannot easily math out.
Now this is funny because Asmon said it, I've said it, and he's going to say it because we all reacted to the same thing.
How much you're actually spending.
No, that's exactly right. I've said this 100 times.
Yeah,
it's like you spend USD and you get crystals, and you use crystals to buy platinum points, and then you use platinum points to buy stars, and then after 5 different stars, you can convert that into a wish, and then you use a wish to buy a role at a character.
But do you remember, like, I don't know, in England we don't have Chuck E. Cheese, but I believe in Chuck E. Cheese you go in and you play some games and you get some tickets and you get some prizes. I remember being a kid and going to the fair, and like you pay some money and then you hook a duck. Do you remember the hook a duck? Do you remember the hook a duck? Probably gambling, isn't it? Do you remember the hook a duck? See, I don't know how, but that is exactly the one from my local fair. I mean, maybe they all look the same, but that is exactly the one from my local fair that when I was a kid. Hook a duck to win. So you pay some money, and then you reach out with your fishing rod and you hook a duck, and underneath the duck has got a prize, and then you exchange the duck for a prize. And if you want, you can keep hooking until you've got like 10 ducks and get the big prize, or you might hook the big prize by random, or, you know, but hook a duck. So what you're doing really is you're buying a fucking little teddy bear. Like, they're the prize. The big prize is the big turtle at the back. You don't get that. The big eel, or the big one, you don't get that. Same with Gacha, isn't it? You hook your duck and you get the fucking little teddy bear. And then do you want to carry on and do 2 more ducks, and you can exchange 5 ducks for a big bear if you didn't get... Oh, I see. Like, so, but what's 5 ducks? Oh, it's £5. Like, my dad had to spend £5 so I could play hook a duck. Like, when you're a little kid, you're not thinking money, are you? Your parents are doing the money. But what you're doing is you're going into hook a duck, or any of these carnival games. I mean, hook a duck's a bit more fair because you're more likely to win. It's for kids. Whereas the ones that, you know, you throw a hoop or you do anything like that, it's fixed. Yeah, saying it in chat here, Jozzy, yes. Everything on the fair is fixed. Some of them really are, like, not, like, no lie, just really fixed. And some remarkable people can still sort of shock physics and get a win. But yeah, hook a duck was I mean, it's fixed because what's underneath those ducks, is any of them a big toy? Probably not. Only one of them's a big toy, and it's probably got a broken hook and you can't get it. So, you know, hook a duck probably is fixed as well, but you get a toy. So the point is, you're paying money to get a toy. Now, if you go, oh, you play the game as well, oh, you play the game as well. If you go in a shop, you get a better toy for your money and you can choose it. Whereas on this, you hook the duck and you get what it said under the duck. And yet, when you're a kid, you want to do that. It's fun. Your parents spend the money. What are we doing is we're turning money into ducks, and then we're turning ducks into presents, into toys. So the concept of value is the big toy worth 5 ducks. Well, it's the big toy, so 5 ducks is the big toy. But what if you went in a shop and just bought the big toy? And how much does it cost to hook 5 ducks? Like, actually, the big toy's not really worth that at all. But because you're lost in the moment of, I've already won 1 duck and 2 more ducks equals a bigger thing, like, you're thinking in ducks. So you're better off just going in a shop and buying a teddy bear. But no one does. They hook the ducks and they have fun. That's hook a duck. So it's, again, endemic in our society. It's not like there's some new thing going on here that has been discovered in the gacha thing, is it? It's just, you know...
And then if the roll doesn't succeed...
these different currencies, you know, that idea is not novel. Chuck E. Cheese gives you tokens.
The wish turns into...
But your parents pay for the fucking... goes on the machines, don't they?
You know, like a dark star currency that if you put 55 of those together, that you can potentially buy the character on the store, and it's like a star fragment, exactly. And so if you put 150 star fragments together, you can make the character on your own. So it's like, how much does a star fragment cost? Bro, like, that's the reason...
I'm laughing because that's the system I asked for. I said that would be a good idea before they released Tower of Fantasy. I said you should earn not just, you know, star glitter from your failed wishes, but you should earn a ticket towards what you actually want. And you should be able to put together all your failed star glitter and say, look, I failed 30 wishes, I'm buying the character I want outright. Instead of a pity timer, I'm guaranteed, I'm working towards it. There's another Klee ticket, there's another Klee ticket, there's another Klee ticket, and then I'll have what I want.
Finally, there's been a use for high schools teaching people Algebra 2 all the time. Finally, we have a functional real life usage of Algebra 2.
And what Genshin does is has Genesis crystals, Primo gems, Intertwined Fate, a Quiet Fate, Star Glitter, Stardust, and more.
But again, that is a bit deceptive because really what Genshin Impact has is Primo gems with which you buy the Fate, which are the wishes. So you call the Fate wishes. So Primo gems, you buy wishes. You get Primos free in game, but if you want to buy them, you can buy them with crystals, and they're a one-to-one transference. So again, Primos. I consider buying crystals buying Primos because there's nothing else, like Juzzy said, there's nothing else in the shop that you're going to buy. So it's money equals Primos equals wishes. It's easier to work it out like that in your brain quite simply. But yeah, there are all these different currencies, but they don't all convert and you can't spend them all on different things, and that star glitter comes after the wishes, and yes, you can sort of spend it on wishes again if you save it up, but it's like an afterthought system, isn't it? It's like, you know, the dust that your wishes give you, you can then recycle into more spending in the shop. But he made it sound quite complicated, but when you actually see the game, it's not as bad as even, like, Diablo's worse.
You buy Primo gems, turn them into Fate, to turn them into Star Glitter, to roll for Stardust. It's all a way
No, that was wrong. That was wrong. Wasn't it?
Star Glitter, Stardust, and more. You buy
Primos, yeah. So the crystals are a one-to-one with the Primos. So crystals equals, like, your money that you're spending on crystals equals Primos, yeah?
Primo gems, turn them into
Fate, and that's a wish. That Fate is a wish. You then use that and you wish, and then that's job done. You spent your money and you've bought your wishes and you've got your stuff. What you also get is Stardust at the end of the wishes, and you can, like I said, you can recycle that back in the shop if you want, but you're not rolling for that. You're rolling for the characters and the stuff. Like, this is like an afterthought. It's like, sorry you didn't win, here's a token to buy something else in the shop.
Into Star Glitter to roll for Stardust.
To roll for Stardust, I don't know what he means by that. They're two different kinds of star glitter that you get. One gives you good stuff and one gives you rubbish stuff.
It's all a way to make it...
Oh, I was actually pretty close. Damn. That's crazy. I never played the game. That was crazy. I was pretty close.
Confusing, so you can't tell how much dollars you're spending.
Yeah, well, that's the bottom line. You can't tell how many dollars you're spending, but the bottom line there is crystals equals Primos. So how much does the cost of the crystals, how many wishes do I get with those Primos? So I worked it out for you. It was quite straightforward. He was talking too fast and misspoke, but he wasn't too inaccurate. Okay, fair enough. He's not awful, although I do find him a little bit overexcited for my liking. He's like shouting.
And
are there only 3 steps and not 4, guys? Is that it? It's like, yeah, we're eating shit, but it's not warm. It's cold shit. It's like already like hardened up. We're not eating warm shit.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I get it. It's like that, isn't it? Well, it's like that, isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't that what my life's like? I'm not having to, when I buy a Coca-Cola or a fucking McBurger, I'm not eating shit. In McDonald's, you literally are eating shit. That was in Fast Food Nation. There is shit in the meat. I mean, it would be Fast Food Nation. It would be like slander to publish this in a book, wouldn't it? So this book, Fast Food Nation, which became a film as well, literally has that line, "There is shit in the meat," written in it. Because what happens in the system in America is that you've got meat producers who you have these meat producers in these big meat factories, and what they do is they grind up all the meat, and so there's like 5 meat packers in America. Like, there's not that many that service this huge industry. There's like 5 meat packers at top level, and then it gets filtered down, and in the process of grinding up like hundreds of thousands of cows, some fecal matter gets into the grinder. Some, not huge amounts, like trace amounts maybe, but they can trace it. There is shit in the meat. So yeah, welcome to the world of capitalism.
It's only 2. Okay, that's fine. Like I'm
not promoting it. I don't eat that meat. I don't eat that. I'm not promoting it. I don't gamble. I'm free to play. I'm vegan. I'm ideologically opposed to the psychological manipulation of young people, all people, by other people. Yeah.
Listen, obviously that makes it a little bit better. Yeah, I'm not going to say it does not make it better, but it is still, it's still obfuscation. I mean, Diablo 4 is doing the same thing.
Yeah.
They have like a premium currency. Why do you have a premium currency? Why do we need this? Why not just have it in dollars? Like, why not just have it in dollars? Well, there's an obvious reason for that.
I would defend the gaming industry here slightly, which is if you just have it in dollars, then how are you going to sell it in England? Because we have pounds. Well, then you're going to have to convert it. Well, what's the conversion rate between dollars and pounds? Well, that fluctuates daily. So why don't we just have one thing in the game that's constant, and then in your country it costs whatever you pay for it, and in my country it might cost different because of the fluctuation in the transaction rate, but I'm still paying a set price. It's like with Hearthstone cards in dollars or in pounds. Actually, they're slightly different values. The same product is a slightly different cost in the 2 different countries, but rather than fuck about, they just go for the more like 1999 price. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, it makes sense that if you're selling internationally, you might want to have a currency in your game that internationally you have different prices for in different markets, but you can be consistent within game for all players to understand. There is that. And
it's not because they want to help you.
You also need premium currency because you can both buy it and earn it in game, but you don't need that many. I don't know really the difference between premium and other currencies then maybe. But yeah, for it to work in a monetization thing, you have to be able to buy it. Yeah, absolutely.
Not only do they have different currency,
that would, yeah, 100%. It's like, again, it's like this, isn't it? You're not going to be going in this casino and spending any money without the money. Those chips don't come for free, do they? And all that. Yeah, you're going to have to be able to be handing over. The minute you can't hand over any more money is the minute they don't want you in the casino. But it's different in Genshin Impact because I've not been paying any money ever, and they're quite happy to have me and give me loads of free stuff. So I guess they're trying to make me spend some money, aren't they? But it hasn't really happened for me. Yet, interestingly, whilst I'm telling you all my opinions on all these things, I'm yet to see something on this video that has spoke to me and said, oh yeah, that's something they did to me on Genshin and it worked and I was into it and I wanted to spend the money. So far, nothing.
but they'll have different denominations. So that's why things will be costed like 143 Primo Gems.
Yeah.
It needs to be fun money. It needs to put it into gem form, and then it's from there it's fun money for you, and you just spend it.
I think that's not the reason why. I think the reason why is because it gives you, so like for example, in Tower Fantasy, you buy 6,480. I'm pretty sure. Am I right about that? 6,480. That's like the $100. And then you get a bonus 1,300. So if you get a bonus 1,300 and you put that with 1,600, so it's almost, so now you're like only 200 or 300 away from getting an entirely new tin pull.
So this idea that you don't quite, like, you think about filling up a bucket with water, and when you're filling up your bucket with Primos until you've got enough, you spend and you get 2/3 of a bucket. And then the next spend, well, you want to just top up the bucket, don't you? You just want 1/3 of a bucket now. You've got 2/3, you just want 1/3. But you can't buy it in thirds, you have to buy it in 2/3. So now you've got one full bucket and 1/3 bucket. So now you're going to spend again, aren't you? Because then you can fill up the second bucket. So now you bought 3 when you only wanted 1 bucket. You bought 3 packs. See how it ended up? So by never giving you exactly the right amount for what you want, you end up spending more. It's a bit like in Genshin Impact, how we saw we needed 4.4 of those packs of Primos to guarantee that, well, I can't buy 4.4. So actually the price is wrong, isn't it? Actually the price is wrong. It was 4.4 times 90 that we did on the calculator, but actually it's 5. Isn't it? Actually, it's 5 times 90, because you can't buy 0.4. You can buy one of the smaller packs, maybe, but, you know, the idea is thus that I'm laughing because DSP says thus, and I threw it into conversation in a funny way, like taking the mick, but I won't go there. The idea is simply that, like I explained the first time, you don't buy a full bucket. You buy nearly a full bucket, and then to fill that bucket, you buy another one, and then and you're on and on and on. You've always got some left over in your bucket. There's always another reason to fill up that bucket, because you might as well, because otherwise you're throwing away your bucket. And you never quite get the right amount to top the bucket exact. I just want to buy 10 more wishes. Do I have to buy 20? Well, if I bought 20, I might as well have the next 20 as well.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like, because they're always trying to fucking they're trying to keep you edging. They always want you edging, and they keep you edging by just keeping you, 10 currency, 35 currency away from that big 10 pull. That's
not really
why.
knowing the value. Another thing they do is they highly incentivize social proof. People, and this is more of a human psychological principle, people are much more likely to not share their losses.
Wait, is her name Kecking? Wait, really? Kaching? Oh, isn't that a little bit on the nose?
That's what I said. Kaching.
Calling one of the rare pulls Kaching? I mean, damn, like, I don't know, I'm just saying. It's Chinese? Yeah, but like, I mean, they could have changed it for like
It's still the same sound, isn't it? Ka-ching.
The English version. I mean, I don't know.
And happily share their wins.
Yeah.
YouTubers now upload videos saying...
People do this.
Okay, agree here. This is more of a feature of gaming and social media as well, that you're more likely to show your wins than your losses. However, right... however, I would say that in Genshin Impact, it is common standard practice to show your entire range of pools. I've seen streamers showing all of their pools, and me as a streamer, I've been showing whatever happened, and if it's been good luck, bad luck, bad luck. And actually, I've been watching a few, little shorts sometimes, and when I see someone, I watched one, and this guy, it was on his like second pool, he did a 10 pool, his first 10 pool, and he got a lady with the hat, Mona. He got a 5-star in his first temple, and he was like, I don't even know what this is about. I don't even know if it's good or not. Streamer luck. And I felt like, oh, fucker, you motherfucker. I wish I had that. Like, I didn't feel good about him and his luck and happy for him. I felt like, oh, yeah, fucker. Maybe that's more about me than it is about him. But when you watch somebody, like, surely I feel my pools collection of my funny pools, like getting Bennett, maybe I should edit them together, getting Bennett, getting Kaching, getting these things that I didn't necessarily want, getting those duplicates and feeling like I got kicked in the crotch. I'm sure that is better for a viewer than, oh, look at all the great stuff I've got, like showing off So maybe it works both ways. Maybe people show their failings as well as their wins in this because it's got comedic value and stuff. Whereas I agree with what he's saying as a psychological point, that people are like it happens with gambling. You ask somebody who's into gambling how much they win or lose, they'll tell you about, the other day I put £5 on and I won fucking £500 off this gamble. And they go, really? And if you ask them if you ask them to itemize all the gambling, then they're missing out fucking loads of ones where they've lost, and they're telling you about this one that they've won. So you get a distorted view. It's very relevant to Genshin because their Hoyo Lab app, it's mandatory to have it so you can install the game, and it functions the same way as Facebook. You mean that launcher that I've got? It's completely designed to promote conversation between the people playing the game and talk about the game. You're right, actually. And as well, I tell you what, in some of those little events that they do, they send Paimon sends me a message and says, share this on Facebook and I'll give you some more. And I'm like, I don't have Facebook, Paimon, so shut up. And she's like, share it on Twitter and I'll give you some more. And I do, because I have Twitter. The site where you play the web events. All right, yeah, I've been on that recently because I did the recent web event. I didn't realise it had, because it opens up in my other browser. It opens up in Explorer and I use Firefox. So I'm like, that's a Genshin Impact browser. I've done the game. Leave me alone. But yeah, I guess other people might be more inclined to do that. And you get primos for logging in, don't you? I have seen that you get stuff for logging in. And I've thought, that's beyond me. I'm not having that. That's missed because I'm not doing it. But you're right. They encourage it. But then again, what you're saying here is you're encouraging your player base to be a community, and you're providing the network for them to be a community without them having to use other social networks. So that's not even a bad thing, is it? But it is. It's a mechanism of the cycle. Good and bad. Well, in that case, is Facebook good or bad? Oh, of course, yeah. So we're going to say this, point the finger at Genshin Impact, worst gacha game ever. They provided their community with a place to share ideas. But we're talking about it on a social network like YouTube, which is exactly the same thing. And before you watch this video, you'll have seen an advert, not on my account because I'm not monetized, but they will put an advert on my non-monetized content, you can be sure. And it's all about marketing and advertising, isn't it? So it's funny the way we're pissing out of the tent, but actually we're pissing into the tent. Everyone's pissing everywhere in the tent. That's a bad analogy. You're not saying it's bad or good, you're saying it's a good point. Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to play devil's advocate and look at both sides of the coin. I'm sort of defending Genshin because I actually have not found this to be a reason that I felt necessary to spend money. I've watched streamers with cool stuff. I am a streamer and I've got my own little niche of cool stuff. I've got all the little ones. But despite that, I've not felt compelled to spend money to get Kamisato Ayaka or anything. It's just a feature of life. I can go on the internet and YouTube and watch somebody driving a Lamborghini, but I'm not going to go and max out my credit card to get one. It's just the way it is.
And happily share their wins.
Yeah.
YouTubers now upload videos saying...
People do the same thing, man. So, like, with Tower of Fantasy, people all the time would send me links. They're like, bro, I got 3 SSRs in one pull. Bro, I got 2 SSRs in one pull. I got the scythe twice. They do that all the time. Maybe
that's a human feature, or maybe it's more of a feature of, because we talked about Genshin having a different demographic, maybe it's a different feeling in the Genshin community. I don't know, because I'm not deep in it to see this, but he's coming from a world of like World of Warcraft players, MMO players who are all showing off the best sword they got, so they're all shouting about all their best pulls. Maybe it's more of a feature of the community specific, or maybe it's a human nature thing. Like I said, gamblers often tell you about the ones they win, not the ones they lose. I don't know. Certainly, if I was to make an edit of what I think would come across better on YouTube, I would edit all of my failed pulls because they're funnier, they're more human, they're more relatable, and it's the truth of what happened. So I can't really show off all my cool stuff because I got a few cool things, but I guaranteed Klee, didn't I? I guaranteed her by doing my saving up and guaranteeing it, so it was different.
I see it constantly. Because it's the same thing, like, you guys, every time Train gets a big win, people come into my chat, and they're like, bro, He just won $28 million. That means he's
Talking about other streamers who actually gamble on their streams.
only $48 million away from breaking even.
And it sounds like a lot of money, but they've got into this position where the companies give them money to gamble with. So, it's essentially gambling $40, but you put zeros on the end. And at the end of it all, they make money because they're promoting gambling, and the gambling companies are paying them to promote gambling. And they don't lose money because they're not really gambling with their own real money. And it looks extraordinary, and it's part of the marketing.
It might happen.
I lost money on Genshin Impact. They upload the video of their rare pull. And that creates a false heuristic in your brain that the odds of it are higher than they actually are. You are more likely to think it's possible when you see other people getting it.
All right, right. So that's like the lottery then, isn't it? Or Las Vegas, or anything, isn't it? Like watching the machine go ching, 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 and everyone looks. Like, yeah, that's just like life again, isn't it? So you can't say that, like in the UK, we've got adverts for like the lottery. I mean, if I just put lottery, in images. Actually, no, not lottery, news. Look, do news. I won 10 million on the lottery, but half of it vanished as I spiraled out of control. Scotswoman faced postcode lottery. That's not right. Couple claimed to have cracked code for winning lottery and £23 million. Ex-soldier regrets winning lottery as his life spiraled out of control. This struggling family mum wins life-changing lottery jackpot. Like, people who win the lottery go in the news. They won the lottery. Happens every week. Someone wins the lottery. So it's quite often, like 52 times a year, there's somebody else to go in the news. They don't all want to go in the news, but every week, it's like, how many, is it likely someone's going to win the lottery? Yes, it's absolutely guaranteed as a factor of 1. Like, it's going to happen every week. But is it likely it's going to happen to you? Not very likely. So yeah, welcome to the world again.
Give you a direct quote here. This is a direct quote again from a game developer that makes mobile games. Do not tell your players that the majority of people do not spend money. That is cancer that will kill your monetization.
Well, he watched the video of the... I remember the...
Am I, therefore, cancer that will kill Genshin Impact's monetization? Because I feel like I'm, if anything, defending and promoting Genshin Impact because of the beauty and the art within the game that I've grown to find compelling. The monetization I find disgraceful in a way. Like, I think gambling's totally wrong and it shouldn't be available to young people through this mechanism. On the other hand, I have not ever spent any money, so...
Guy said that. He watched the video that we watched with, like, the Let's Go Whaling seminar thing.
Oh, there we go. He's even saying like, the Let's Go Whaling seminar. So again, it's all out of this video. And our friend here that we're reacting to has watched this video. I heard a game developer actually say, yeah, you watched the video that we've all watched on the internet, yeah.
Yeah, the majority, you want it to seem like everybody is spending money, and if you don't spend money, you're the loser. It's like back in 3rd grade, where everybody else had the Pokemon lunchbox, but you've got the Batman one from like 19...
And that's marketing through films and cartoons, isn't it? So it's exactly that stuff I said. Plus, it's not just that, it's you're not wearing the right trainers.
83. It's not even the cool Justice League.
It's beyond one company promoting their ideas. It's become a social norm. You're not wearing the right trainers.
Batman? No, it's like that fucking goofy bullshit that they had back then. So it's like you create kids that are like, you're the only one, and like the other kids make fun of you. They don't want to play tag with you at recess. And, before you know it, you're asking your mom to buy you a Pokemon lunchbox. That's it. Adam West was cool. Well, it was... I'll say it probably aged better. I mean,
this is so much more pertinent for the MMOs, but not so much more pertinent for Genshin Impact. But I don't know how that works in Genshin Impact. Everyone having cool stuff and you not having it. The idea that everyone else is spending money and you're not. I don't know how that works. I don't know where you'd see that happening. I don't know how, like, maybe within this community thing they're suggesting it, but I think it's a lot harder to do online, isn't it? Because you don't, maybe in co-op, but you don't see each other in that way. You're not physically wearing the trainers around each other. We're playing the game, and we're playing a one-player game against the computer. So, like, maybe online, maybe social media, but harder to make people feel that everyone's spending money.
Because at least now it's funny because of how dumb it was.
That is a fucking direct quote. Do not tell them that people don't spend money. That is cancer.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, if you spend
social
money in a
pressure.
game, other players should know about it. And that incentivizes them to think, okay, they're doing it, I can do it too.
That's why you have leaderboards. That's why also Diablo Immortal has, they have servers. I think that Diablo Immortal doesn't need servers. I think that they have servers intentionally to break up the leaderboards, to encourage more people to whale for the top of those leaderboards.
Proof works, okay? They also are more direct. For example, in Genshin Impact, they had a promo where if you took an in-game photo of your rare pull, like if you pulled a rare hero and took a photo of it, you got free Primo Gems.
Oh, I would do that.
So you were incentivized to tell and to take a photo and share your friends that you got something cool, which makes you think that it's fucking going work. It's
free.
Okay. Josie's saying a lot of people interact both in co-op and when you add them as friends, you can talk to them. So I didn't know you could talk to people, so they can talk to each other and share what they pulled. And he's saying here they were incentivized to do it by giving you free stuff if you got stuff and promoted it. Strange, actually. I don't necessarily feel that, like of all the marketing things that I've heard of, this one sounds the least sinister, isn't it? It's kind of like showing off the cool stuff you've got to encourage other people to get it. Yeah, I mean, it's exactly that, but it's so overt and obvious, isn't it, what it is? And you're also showing the 0.6% chance of getting it. So I don't know, maybe it's just me and the way my brain works, but when I play the lottery, I don't go in there thinking, oh, I saw that newspaper article the other day about that bloke who won the lottery, therefore I'm more likely to win today. Give me a ticket. It just doesn't happen to me. I just still reason it out as it's 1 in 14 million. Like, please don't give me a ticket. I don't want to pay any fines. So I guess it's a factor of society again, though. We're talking about who's got the cool trainers and, you know, Versace, and, you know, I look at influencers online and see it as a far more seething pit of vile disgust than this. But yeah.
And again, I think an example here.
All I have to do is
YouTubers
advertise
again
their
always sharing their insane luck.
Oh, they are.
These insane luck.
100%, right?
That's another factor of YouTube, isn't it? There though, like you're trying to get popular on YouTube, and you're doing the thing that the algorithm is pumping back to you. Like maybe she made 3 different videos, and one was great luck and one was bad luck, and the bad luck video didn't get many views, and this got loads of views. So now she's making another one like this. I mean, there's all sorts of other factors that are coming into this. It's only got 7,000 views a year ago, so it's not huge. It's just that it exists as a factor on the internet. It's not to say that is like evidence of it being. I mean, it obviously is part of the system, isn't it? That's what they're going for, and people are playing into it. This is my thing about influencers as well. I don't want to be a Genshin Impact influencer to say to people, oh, go and spend money. In fact, I'm free to play, so I can feel conscience clear. Never spend it. If you're going to watch me and get influenced to do anything, you're going to be influenced to not spend money, so that's fine. But I wouldn't want to inadvertently be promoting something that was ethically bereft by, you know, doing videos about it. Just like gambling's another great example. Let's say I did gambling videos about me betting on the horses, and like I did well on YouTube, but I encourage people to gamble. I wouldn't go near that. I wouldn't touch it. And there's loads of influencers doing loads of stuff. So it's not just, you know, this particular thing. In fact, this is the least sinister end of the wedge, isn't it? You know, you got people making advent calendars out of bullshit and charging 50 quid. You got all sorts. You got people selling pink sauce these days, haven't you? You got all sorts. People are just, you know, people are jackals.
Insanely lucky. The reality, I mean, like, let's be honest, right? That's 7,000 views. It's not like this is changing the world.
Press enter in game. I'll have to look at it. I'm surprised. I didn't know they had voice chat though.
However, if you go and you watch some of the like lottery wins people have on like Stake and shit, these videos have millions of views. People are just going ape shit about them. And like, also, I'll tell you that, you know, like Lost Ark. What was my most popular content on Lost Ark besides fucking doing the raids at the beginning, right? It was doing honing. It was honing, and even with Tower...
So he's talking about in Lost Ark, you spend essentially money, microtransaction money for all these like crystals and things, and you use them to upgrade your weapons or your stones, and it's not guaranteed. It's a bit like rolling for artifacts. It's not guaranteed. So you spend the money, you press the button, 20% chance of it being good, it's bad, that's wasted money. Let's do another one, right? It's like scratch cards. It's like buying scratch cards, essentially that is. So again, like really bad in the game, predatory mechanics, scratch cards. Like go in any shop, go in any newsagents, go and buy yourself a scratch card. And like, so yeah, bad. Agree, personally, don't think we should be doing all the gambling in society. Maybe this is highlighting that point, but it's hard to point the finger at Genshin Impact and say it's terrible when society's rife with it again.
For fantasy, what are people waiting for? They're waiting for the Gamba. They want to see if I get the what's in the box. What's in the box?
There's a lot of viewers watching that.
And everybody goes and they say, "Oh, well, this is so boring." Well, then why did the numbers not? Why did the numbers show the opposite? Why does the viewer count go up every time I do it, or anytime anybody does it? It's nothing special to me, but it's pretty easy that anybody can see that there's a trend here. People like watching this.
Lucky.
Maybe we like what I mean. You watch quiz shows where people like take the gamble at the end, and it's the exciting bit, don't you? People like a bit of risk, but personally, I don't find gambling good content myself. So maybe I'd say. I mean, he's got figures that seem to prove it. We're talking about demographics on Twitch, though, so we're not talking about across the board. I mean, I don't know, but maybe I'll say.
Flamingo gacha pulls.
The best part about it is like you farm people on both sides. You farm people that like the content and people that hate the content and like to see you lose. Farming haters and simps at the same time, that's hard to do. But Gamba content does that.
And if you look on YouTube, there's millions of these people sharing their insane luck.
Oh yeah.
In polling.
Wow.
And it's just to open the air, just to clear the air.
I would also say that when you're on something like Twitch or YouTube, you're reliant, certainly on Twitch, when you're playing a game, you're reliant on the quality of that content. You react to it and react with it and create the content, but you're relying on the quality of that to attract the audience, aren't you? So I'm lucky with Genshin Impact. I believe that it's quite easy to follow. It's got good characters. It's got interesting stories, so a viewer can follow along with the game. But if I was playing something a bit more complex or a bit more strategic or something, unless I talk through my thinking, there's less for you to follow along with. Whereas with gambling, they've already made these machines and these slot machines and these mechanics to be really dazzling and, you know, make you salivate. So it's a bit like watching cooking shows, isn't it? It's easy to follow. It's easy to see what's happening and it makes you salivate. So it's already like, it doesn't matter about the streamer, it doesn't matter about who's presenting the gambling. Like the thing itself is already designed to hit all those psychological buttons. So saying gambling content gets more viewers might be because you're exposing a group of people here, maybe younger gamers, maybe slightly more younger male gamers, maybe Asmongold's demographic, maybe, and you're saying to them right now, have a look at this gambling thing, and they're going to go, oh. It's like saying, like, you know, doing a wet t-shirt competition gets lots of views. Well, yeah, because the young boys like looking at the boobs, don't they? So it turns out as well that, like, while this testosterone's flowing around in this certain demographic, that the risk and the reward and the spinning wheels and the lights and the, you know, whatever else goes along with these gambling concoctions to make them appealing to this demographic appeals to this demographic. So maybe that's not a surprise.
I am 100% guilty of this. I have spent hundreds of dollars before I had any, back when I was broke in college, hundreds of dollars on LOL skins. And that's that's not even really a gacha mechanic yet. But again,
I don't know what
LOL
that is.
skins is baby food compared to what games have gotten good at.
Let me think. Have I ever bought a skin? I think I might have got one of the Mists of Pandaria helmet skins because I got...
Asmongold is actually like ethically opposed to selling microtransactions within World of Warcraft because he thought that it was like a floodgate opening, the store mounts, stuff like that. Slightly different conversation. Me personally, never been into buying anything in video games. I had Fortnite, got to the point where I said I've played this a bit, like I've had the fun out of it. I'll give them the £5 for the battle pass or whatever, and I got a couple of characters, and then I got free V-Bucks with the battle pass, and that's it. I've never bought a skin. I've never put any more money in than that, but I did initially do the battle pass. I think that's the only thing. There's nothing else on computer games other than content, DLC, buying the actual games. I don't think there's anything else where I've bought skins. In Hearthstone, I've had to buy cards. Yeah, I'm not really one for buying things that don't matter and just have aesthetic value in a computer game that I may not be playing in 10 years' time. I'm not that worried about, but...
Got my tier 3 shoulders, and I thought the Lich King, like that crown of Endless Winter, would fit really good on my character. Didn't you buy skins in Fortnite? No, I've never bought a skin in Fortnite. I bought skins in Apex, but I did that for stream content. I did, to be fair, I've spent this is over 10 years. I've spent like $1,000 on PoE.
Yeah, again, not against microtransactions as long as the actual game doesn't cost money, says Josie. I need to buy the actual game and then the content in-game. No thanks. Yeah, exactly. If I'm spending money on the game, I want things unlockable within the game. That's the whole point of the game. If you've taken something good and made me spend additional, then that's like, why? That's rude. It's like I sit down to eat my dinner and I order a vegan burger and chips, please. And they bring me the burger and they say, you ordered the chips, but we're only giving you some of the chips. The rest of the chips you have to buy extra. And I'd be like, but it's part of the fucking meal. You're like, yeah, but they're a side of chips. I don't want a side of chips. I want burger and chips as a meal. They're an extra side of chips. And also the top of your burger is going to cost you extra as well, the top bun. What do you mean the top bun's going to cost me extra? I bought the burger. No, you haven't really. Top bun is extra. You don't get that. Like, come on, leave me alone. Yeah, microtransactions as well. I found them a bit insidious, that people would be designing things for a game that are cool or interesting or good, and then you don't, like, you have to pay extra for that and extra for that. Like, just put it. Isn't that diluting what's good about the game and putting it behind a paywall? Yeah. So and microtransactions in terms of Fortnite, though, like, because there is nothing that affects the game and there's such a diversity of different things. At first I was dead against Fortnite skins. I was like, you should be able to just buy the game and get all the skins. But then after years of going by, and I'm starting to see this huge wealth of, and then I realized that it's actually a marketing tool for companies now. Batman skin, isn't it? You know, the new Star Wars thing is being promoted in Fortnite now, so you've got a skin that you actually buy so that you're an advert for other players. There's all that going on, so I find it insidious and disgusting. But the idea that I mean, they don't have a character creator, do they? So you can't create your own character, so you have to buy the skin. But the idea that everyone should have something for them, and there's diversity, and we can represent diversity with this huge, like, almost infinite trove of diverse skins, is possibly a good thing. But, and to fund it, microtransactions, okay, I understand, because I don't want to buy that skin, but somebody else might. So, like, that's kind of all right. I'm free to play, providing microtransactions that don't affect the game. Doesn't seem that insidious, but yeah, again, we're on this new market, aren't we? Though we're talking about Fortnite because it's a different thing from Ocarina of Time. Like, imagine if there were skins in Ocarina of Time that you bought separately. The closest thing has been you get a special edition, or you get an amiibo and you get something special in the game. And to me that felt rubbish, because I'm not getting the amiibos or the special editions, so I've not got something cool in the game that someone else has, and I never will have, because I'm not affording the special edition. So, you know, that always used to seem rubbish to me. In fact, in some ways, I know this whole thing is about making people spend more because they can see all this good stuff that they're not getting, but in some ways, isn't it a bit like watching someone drive past in a Ferrari who's waving the money out the window, and you go, well, you know, that's good, but I'm not getting a credit card and spending it on a Ferrari, so fuck you, fuck this game, I'm out. Like, if it goes too far that way, it pisses me off. People who show off their, you know, extreme luck or extreme greed or whatever, it switches me off. So, you know, maybe there's a negative there as well at some point.
Most of that was whenever I was already a successful streamer. So it's like it wasn't a financially damaging thing for me.
Today with psychological warfare. That's level 1. Okay? That's like pretty easy to get around. I just have a weak mind. But if I was impressionable and playing Genshin Impact, there is so much more than that. And the fact is, if I wanted that skin and couldn't buy it directly, but had to buy 60 packs or 60 pulls to get
I think I'd like to tell him what more there is, rather than just, we understand that you can't get it, it's a gacha system and people want it but they can't get it. What's that more? Is that more the psychological pull of the story? Is it the writing in the story? Is it the characterization? Is it the design of the characters around a demographic demographic and what that demographic might see in an ideal partner. What is it? What are we talking about? And why is it sinister?
Shot at getting it and then do it again to level it up. That's where it starts to get crazy. That's where they are really taking advantage of the Skinner box nature of our minds. This is a video I'd like to show you.
Oh, thank God.
Let's go whaling.
Thank God he's showing, because obviously that's where a lot of this has come from. Thank God he's showing like I said, he's not going to show the working out. So many content creators take stuff from GDC. There's actually a channel that I'm not going to say the name of, but I see a GDC video come out and I watch it and it's an hour long and it's really good and it's interesting. And then I see like a 20-minute, like 10-minute, easy to digest, just the main points made on a different channel. And they don't say, oh, this is the new GDC video. They say, oh, I'm a game developer and I'll teach you about game development. Watch my video. And I just think, well, why don't you watch the full hour-long one on GDC and please show you're working out. At least he's showing us the working.
It's for monetizing mobile game players with free-to-play.
Oh, no.
Again,
see, I knew this is what he saw.
Remind you that the best way to make sure of both your retention and your monetization is to make sure you have enough of an in-game economy.
I've literally just shown this, haven't I?
This is where you sell the faster progress, as we just discussed.
So we're all on the same page here.
This is only a small part
the
of it.
1,000 up there is actually clearly lowballing it. Top grossing games have in-game economies worth tens of thousands. That's how you can keep people in there. They have lots of things to do, to stuff to upgrade, to progress along, and that's how you can make them spend a lot as well. Since you can, for instance, give a huge discount on something,
Basically, what he's saying is that you need to be able to get, if you're a new whale to a game, there better be $1,000+ of things you can spend your money on. The days of games having like relatively small level of pay to win, like horse armor for $2, are completely gone.
Well, he's referring to the original first microtransaction, which was in, I believe is it Morrowind? And he's talking about Todd and Bethesda, and he said, this is just an armor for a horse. It's no big thing. It's just, we're going to sell this separately. And that was like the first crack in the wall of the microtransactions, and that was the first one that got through, and then that crack grew bigger, and then here we are, the Iron Horse armor. I think hang on, what was he just going to say here?
$+ of things you can spend.
There's got to be thousands of things to spend your money on. Genshin Impact's interesting like this because the wish system, the gacha system, is like the answer to that, isn't it? It's like the answer to that. It's like they've said, how do we make loads of stuff in our game that you can spend money on? Well, Fortnite have tried to make a million different skins, so now there's a million things to spend your money on. What we've got here, though, is you spend your money and you don't get what you want, so you spend it again. There's not that many things to spend your money on, but you're not actually spending your money on them. You're spending it on the gambling game. So it's infinite. You can infinitely gamble until eventually you get everything, but like that takes a long time, doesn't it? If you save up your primos. So it does in a way stretch out that reward, giving you primos instead of giving you, like, imagine everything I'd got I was complaining, at the end of this we've done all Ningguang stuff, so we should just get Ningguang as a character. But then I've got her immediately, bang, done. By the time I've finished all the story, I've got all the characters. Now what? This does stretch that out. It definitely does. You get primos instead, and primos, it's that exponential thing of fragments become shards, become gems, and you need 3 bits to make a fragment, and then 3 fragments to make a shard, and then 3 shards to make a gem. And by the time you're making gems, you're talking exponential amounts of boss runs. So it's that, isn't it? It's stretching it out. As you get to the higher end, the progress gets smaller. Eventually you're chasing one character that you don't have, and you keep pulling these other 4 stars, and eventually you're chasing one 5-star you don't have, and God help you if you keep wishing for that and pulling other 5 stars in duplicate. Do you know what I mean? Eventually it's going to take a long time to get there. So in some ways that's perfect for what we're talking about, which is keeping players engaged over a 4-year period. We're going to keep them updated with events. We're going to keep them updated with new content. The game is going to be big, and it's going to take 4 years, but we don't want them to get every character in the first year, because if they do, through whatever system we do, monetization, buy it straightforward, pay for it direct. If they do, they're going to be bored and they're going to walk away before we've even started showing them the next expansion. So in some ways, the gacha system is like marriage made in heaven. And I don't like it because I don't like gambling. And I don't like it because I want to be able to buy the things I want. And I don't like it for all these other reasons. But I would say, and it's strange to say it, in defense of Genshin Impact, in this, devil's advocate in a way here, I'm just taking maybe this is not my opinion, maybe I'm just making the argument for it. But in some ways, whilst gacha is great because it's communist, like making an argument for this, rich people pay a lot, I don't pay anything, we all get the game for free. Yay. Like someone rich has paid for me to play, so they've got Yoima, I haven't, but I've got everything for free, playing the game for free, so someone's paid for me to do that by gambling for Yoima. In another way, it keeps it stretched out, doesn't it? I've not got that opera singer, and I'm not going to get her for a good long while, so there's still something for me to look forward to work towards in Genshin Impact. Whereas if I'd been able to buy everything for real money at a good value price, which is what I want, bear in mind, what you want isn't always what you want, is it? It's not always what you need. It's not always the right answer, because sometimes you say, I want this and I want that, and you eat all the burgers and all the chocolate and then you're sick. So I could have binged, I could have got all the characters on day one. I could have had that and I'd be bored now, wouldn't I? What am I looking forward to? What am I waiting for? It does stretch it out in a way. And in a way, that's helpful to the game developers because they want you to be there engaged and enjoying it. And it's helpful to us, the players, because it keeps us... Maybe they called it edging earlier, sexual connotation there, but maybe they called it edging. But, it keeps us edging towards a bit more progress, a bit more... Isn't that part of the fun? Isn't that part of the joy? There's a double-edged sword here. It's not all bad, is what I'm saying. And in defense of Genshin Impact, or the people that make it, or the mechanisms that we're exploring here, it's interesting to me that we're saying it's a net negative that it keeps you coming back. It's a net negative that it makes you want to keep playing. It's a net negative that it makes you keep playing every day. But actually, if we were to say, take a step back and say these people play World of Warcraft and they don't feel compelled to come back every day. They're not that bothered with the game. These people play Genshin Impact and they want to play every day. They don't miss a day. They love the fucking game. They're always enjoying it. As long as you're enjoying it, as long as it's not like, oh, I fucking hate this and I have to turn it on so I can get some primos. Like, as long as you're enjoying it, who's winning? Who's winning? What's a game for? So it's interesting to explore these things. I'm not defending it completely because I do think it's a predatory mechanism, but it's interesting to say, isn't it, that it's bad or good. In chat, Josie says if a game's cheap, it's got a lot of content, it'd be okay. With WoW, you need to buy the game and keep playing each month, and then the microtransactions. Yeah, oh yeah, they're like, they're like claws are in deep there, aren't they? It's like a study in how far can we go, isn't it? But isn't that life? Isn't that what if you were talking to your the thing I find funny about World of Warcraft is that people often, and Genshin Impact to be a good example of this, we're talking about these conversations, we're talking about game development, we're talking about psychology, we're talking about ludology, we're talking about like the idea of gamification of your daily life. Going to work could become a game for you. Game theory in that aspect. Ludology is the study of games and the practice of playing them. Game theory is the study of turning things into games and why people like to, are conditioned to respond to that. So we're talking about all these things, but also if you were to sit down in the office with the accountant at World of Warcraft, the accountant who doesn't know anything about orcs and dwarfs and has never played a fucking game of, Hearthstone or anything, and they just look at the books and say, look, this thing here is making us a lot of money, can I have more of that? And they say, that's the microtransactions thing, we don't want to put lots in, it would spoil the integrity of the game. And they say, what do you mean integrity of the game, you dickhead? Can we have more of the money? You fucking idiot. And they all laugh. This guy, did you hear him? Integrity of the game. Oh, you orcs, you little orcs, and you wanking around with your little swords, you wanker. Get more money. Like, can you not imagine Bobby Kotick in the office? And they're like, well, Bobby, we really think the player base would respond well to this you know, this system. And he's like, yeah, but, you know, fuck the player base. I think their wallets would respond well to this system. So, like, you know, which one are we going to go with? Oh, well, you know, the traditional format of an MMO is about cooperation, and, you know, we want to make players aware that playing together and creating groups and communities. And Bobby Kotick's like, really? Ask the accountant. The accountant is do communities and groups make more money for us, yes or no? The accountant's going to go like yes, and he's going to go, okay, good, get on with it. And then the accountant says, but only if, and he goes, wait, do it this way. Like, you can imagine, like, when they're at this big end of the business, we talk about all these mechanisms, and we're talking about game design, and I believe in games as artworks. So I think indie game developers go through all this as an ethical turmoil. You know, I know indie game developers, and I guarantee they've had conversations in their own soul about how to monetize. Yeah. And I know that, for example, Tommy Palm, after making the big money on some of the monetization practices, that other companies maybe, you know, started to steer the ship a bit beyond him. I'm not speaking for him here. I'm just assuming maybe he felt later about being more philanthropic, because like maybe he felt a little bit guilty about the amount of money he made off something like Candy Crush. I don't know. But it's easier to feel that once you've made the money. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? We're talking about game development, game design and psychology, but actually some of these big companies are looking at this in a financial spectrum and don't give a shit about ethics. And laugh when we're talking about why or why not we should make these decisions in games, because if it makes more money, that's what they want.
Pay to win, like horse armor for $2 are completely gone, okay? If you want to, you should have no end, according to the game players, of the amount of things you can spend your money on. There should be tens of thousands, 100,000.
Exactly. Could you imagine being in the office and explaining to your accountant, like, when we're saying in the office, we're talking about big companies now, aren't we, with lots of money? So explaining to your accounts division that there's a limit how much the players can spend. You'd be like, what? But it's unlimited, we're online. Yeah, but, you know, they can only buy one set of armor, can't they? No, we'll make it 10, make it 100, make it 1,000,000. Do not limit them. What are you doing? Like, they'd be the accountants would be chasing the developers around the office with sticks. Allow them to spend more money, you idiots. Like, you know, it's just basics of, like, if you're running a business, isn't it? Like, when I used to do hairdressing, it was the same. I hated it and I wouldn't go for it, but you're supposed to be on, like, selling them a shampoo, and you're supposed to be on selling them a hair wax, and then making them come in for a fucking blow dry, and a, you know, never stop trying to sell. As soon as they're in that chair, they're your captive audience for selling, aren't they? Oh God, I used to hate that shit. But some hairdressers know that's how they make their money. That's why they're successful businesses. So, you know, welcome to the real world.
You should be able to spend your money over and over and over again on a variety of different things. So let me give you an example here.
Yeah, it's like that's one of the things that Tower of Fantasy doesn't really do a very good job on. To be fair. Like, I mean, Rich spent like $5,000. I spent like 2. Like, we pretty much beat the game. Like, well, now what? Well, what if you want to spend 10? Well, you can't really do that. It's
just have to wait, don't they? They just have to wait for the next character to drop and the next thing to come out. But yeah, agreed. You know, seems a bit strange that a game that's fishing for whales would cap out at 10 grand.
Not lucrative. It's not a good idea. But yeah, but they'll come with new banners. Yeah, but the game will be dead by then, so it won't matter.
True.
From Genshin Impact, you may notice that the hero is something you can pull. That can go up to 5 stars.
Yeah.
But also, all of their items and weapons can be pulled that go up to 5 stars.
How convenient.
So every time you play this game, there is an infinite different number of directions that you can be spending money to try and level up. One thing
it's not infinite, is it? It's characters, and then once you've got the characters, it's duplicating them 5 times, which does seem initially like, oh, good, at least I get something for a duplicate. But then actually, like, it's tricking me into having to get them 5 times, and then it's their weapons, and then it's the materials to ascend all those things to top level. But it is limited. It's not unlimited, unless you wanted 10 weapons for it, you know. But you can't wield 10 weapons, so.
I know, Rich, like, is that thing where, like, we were gonna get this stuff paid for? Is that still happening? Like, yeah, is that happening? Because, like, if I play this game, I got you. All right, that's good. Because I don't know if it is.
Want is for you to be like, okay, I finally got it. There's no amount of money that can get you perfection in this game, and there's constantly adding more to make sure that's not the case.
Agree with that. I think you would have to spend an extraordinary amount of money to say I've got a complete set of, you know, as a collector, everything in 5-star, all of the weapons, everything ranked up nicely, I think you would have to spend an extraordinary amount of money to make that happen, yeah.
Of course.
I don't think they do.
But I don't think that's what the aim is, remember. For me, and I've explained it in other videos, so I'm not going to go over it too much because we're getting on now, aren't we? 3-hour stream, only halfway through this video, and I might have to take a pause. In fact, I will take a pause at this one, Tactic 5. But for me, that is, spending an extraordinary amount of money on Genshin Impact to get everything is probably not what it's designed for. I don't think any one person is supposed to get everything necessarily. I think more likely you get the things that you like or you go for or you got, and you do it your way, and that's how it comes out. In the same way as you don't go into the car garage and say, I'll take a Lamborghini and a Ferrari and I'll have one of these. I'll take all the cars, in fact. No, it's not like that, is it, in life? So, you go into the restaurant and you order one meal off the menu. You don't order all the different food off the menu at the same time so you can sit down and have it all, unless you're King Henry VIII and you're Boris Johnson with your great big chuffing gropey dinners. Like, it's in the real world, like the rest of us, like, you're a collector but you're realistic with your expectations. Yeah, same here. Like, even collectors who collect really expensive shit in life, like collect, like, look at Pokemon cards. Like, do people expect to have the full set of all the cards? Maybe they do, and then maybe they go for all the foils, and then maybe they go for duplicates, and like, maybe you can keep collecting forever. Yeah, maybe you can. Like, maybe you can keep collecting antiques forever, or maybe at some point you say, these are the ones I've got, and I'm not going to own all of the cards, and I'm not going to own all of the antiques, and like, this is my little collection. I'm glad, I'm happy with it. In the same way with your characters, with your computer games. Same thing. I don't think anyone out there has bought all the games. And if streamers and people on the internet maybe, but how many people, even those that collect computer games, have got all of the games? Doesn't it seem a little bit of a stretch? I mean, maybe you could get all of the games. There's a limit, there's a finite amount, but it doesn't matter what you're collecting in life. It does seem like a stretch to think that you would complete the entire collection outright, with the exception of football stickers or you know what I'm saying? With the exception of something that you can go and buy in the shops. Yeah, so I think that's okay. I think that's okay that it's a bit difficult to max out. But again, I don't think it's designed for any one person to max out. But it does seem like the perfect system for a game that wants to be open-ended. With its, like, certainly 4 years is longer than any game has attempted to keep going for. Like, World of Warcraft didn't realise they'd be going for that long, but they wanted an online MMO ongoing. They had different expansions, it kept going, but Genshin Impact has planned for a 4-year structure. Breath of the Wild came out on cartridge, and the next one's coming out in a couple of years. You don't, like, this is slightly different, isn't it? So their system of monetization that allows players to keep engaged over a longer period of time, and to, as the guy said, go in whatever different direction. If you like the weapons, you can roll for the weapons, and if you like the opera singer character, you can wait for her to come around and you can get a C6 opera singer. Like, different directions. So a bit of diversity there as well. This system allows for it. So I do think, whilst we're critiquing it, and we're going to come back to tactics, all this rest of this video I'm going to have to come back to another time, like not tonight, maybe tomorrow, because I need to finish soon. But and I've got to edit this tomorrow now. So let's go back into the world of Genshin Impact while I'm just saying this last bit then. If you put on the system, if you put out in front of us all the different options for monetization, we could have said you buy it outright, and that's what I wanted. Or a subscription, maybe not as happy with that, but would accept it, and you get everything. All of the characters, this season's subscription or battle pass or whatever you call it, we one-off a payment for this season will get you all of this stuff. You play the game, you get it all in reward. Yeah, everyone's happy. That's what I wanted, and you could still do that. But if I grind hard and get all the stuff early, what am I doing for the next 2 weeks? That happens in games. People switch off from the expansion because they finish the content. Whereas with this, there's no switching off. They've looked at these other. Okay, so that system isn't as good as this, is it? For the player base, for the monetization. But like I'm saying, for the players, for me to want to keep playing, for me to have objectives every day. Oh look, this is the chat. What? Oh, it's not. It isn't voice chat, is it? That's good. I'm glad it's not voice chat because you could have anyone saying anything. But this is the chat. What? Look at these pictures. We really need to start getting some emojis for our stream, don't we? I'm going to hire an artist. I really am. There's money in the kitty for it now, and I'm going to hire an artist.
On a deserted moonlit night that the hero approached the vile dragon's limpid lair.
I thought that when I pressed that emoji, I thought that the emoji did the poetry, but it was him doing it. So I'm going to have to turn that off now, because otherwise that's going to be on the screen all the time. Amazing. It's good that they don't have... I mean, I suppose you choose your friends, don't you? So then if friends say rude things, you can go, oh, I don't like that. And then get rid of them. But I like Nintendo for not having voice chat, and everyone was like, oh, you haven't got voice chat on the Nintendo Switch, oh my god. Like, but then I listened to the voice chat on the Xbox when I was playing Call of Duty, and I was like, I don't want this in my ears. I don't want these people saying these things. Right? And if you've got kids or whatever, and you leave them playing Mario, you don't want to come back and have them listening to whatever on the voice chat, do you? Exposed to the world on voice chat. It's better just to keep it away, keep it off. Fortnite's got it, but, you know, that's on them. Nintendo are not responsible. So, really interesting look at all this stuff. And it's actually made, do you know what? Strange, we're only halfway through that video, but it's actually made me feel more comfortable about the monetization system. Because I'm not spending any money and I'm getting a real good go at what everyone else gets. And actually, when you think about it, because, you know, I'm a primos and I've got 10,000 primos and got all these characters, you know, I don't have to go over it and over it, I'm not showing off, but I've got all this stuff, yeah. When you think about it, it's like I'm in the casino for free. I'm playing for free, I'm enjoying it. Everything's a win for me. Imagine if there was a subscription and I played for free. I don't get anything. Imagine if it was buy the cartridge and get it all on cartridge. We don't get half of the game. We only get a quarter of the game. And you either buy it or you don't. So if I didn't buy it, I don't get anything. If I did buy it, I only get a quarter of the game because you can't fit it all on the cartridge. It's not a 4-year game now. It's a 2-year development game.
If my calculations are correct, Wanwan Bookhouse is due to receive a batch of new releases today.
Like for me, the free-to-play player,
detour to our adventure?
And for a lot of people out there, you know, free-to-play players, actually quite nice, isn't it? That I don't have to spend anything, I get everything. There's nothing locked behind anything. There's no, like, you don't reach level 50 until you spend £10. There's no, you know, there's nothing like that, is there? Everything's available to me for free. Any other monetization system, and I have to start paying more money than I'm paying now. And overall, more money is worse than less money for me. Isn't it? Spending more money would be a net negative for me. The only positive, it'll disappear next time you open it. Or just over time. What was that? What? Oh, the chat. The chat, right, yeah. My brain. It's a net... I mean, the only negative from spending actual money is that I would get everything for a set price. But if that price was priced outside my range, if this was an Lamborghini, you don't know where it's priced, is it? What would be the price of Genshin Impact? For a developer, that would be really interesting, wouldn't it? Would really, really interested to find that out. What a developer would say, regardless of, you know, in most games, having a roster of characters like this is unusual. In most games, having a 4-year, like, how many gig of game are we going to get? How many events? How many? Put it all into one cartridge. Put it all into one basket. Tell me how much it would cost in Nintendo terms, in cartridge terms, in Breath of the Wild terms. You know, all these playable characters. It's almost like Street Fighter 2 hasn't got as many characters as this. Like, all the development, all the story. How much does it cost if I don't have gacha, if I don't have microtransaction, but instead I have to pay for it all at once across the market? How does it compare? It'd be interesting, wouldn't it? I expect it would be a lot more expensive than most games. You know, what are we saying? If you spend 200, what are we saying? If it's 200 notes, what would you say if Genshin Impact was $200, but you get everything? Picked up a fish then, but you get everything for $200. Would you be happy or less happy than pay to win and you have to do all this shit in gacha? It's a really interesting question for me, because there'd be a huge amount of people who would never play the game, who would never consider playing the game. It would be considered one of the most expensive games ever. It would be considered to be a bit of a rip-off for that money. Oh, it's a bit like Breath of the Wild. Oh, it's not that different from this. Oh, you know, it'd be considered a bit of a rip-off for that money. You'd sit down knowing you'd spent $200 and you'd think, this had better be fucking good. Do you know what I mean?
I never embark on a journey without a good book to accompany me.
I'd be really interested to see where Genshin Impact sits on how much people would be prepared to pay for this, and how much it costs per unit if it were to be sold as a unit. I'd be really interested to see that. And I would guess that we're going to be prepared to spend a little less than it actually costs to make the game. Overall. Each, on average. You know, I think that's the case. I think the gacha system might get a few more people spending a bit more than they thought. But also, there's a few more of us out here that aren't even spending that at all. So I suppose what it really comes down to, and what you said in chat just a little bit ago, is that it's about the market and how predatory it is, and how acceptable it is to predate on those people, children, essentially. Or those of feeble mind. Children and the feeble-minded. That used to be a term for people with mental health problems or developmental problems. Obviously, it's not considered to be very nice these days to say that. That's why I was joking about saying it, the feeble-minded, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see when. So that's the next chapter, I think, of that video and our stream.